Journey. So this is the first in a series of videos that I just do these as live streams just to get them out of the way as quick as possible, where I give my thoughts on the short treks. So last year when they did the short treks, I didn't cover these at all on my channel, mainly because I was living outside of the US at the time. I didn't have access to them, and I wasn't really that excited for season 2 of Discovery, so I wasn't really that interested in them. But this year I'm a bit more interested in them because I like season 2 of Discovery a bit more, and plus this isn't just about Discovery anymore because it's now about Picard's coming and the Lower Deck shows coming and all this other stuff. So it's no longer just a Discovery thing. Plus, I'm a bit more interested in Discovery now. So I decided I wanted to talk about them and cover them this time. However, I'll just do them in a series of these live streams, which I'll just call thoughts on, which I'll just come on, put the minimal effort and just come on real quick and give my thoughts on the short trek. So of course I'm going to talk about the short trek that was released over the weekend. I believe like they announced it at New York Comic-Con, and they just like, oh, it's coming out today, which is kind of annoying when they do that because they don't give any one time to prepare for it, but that's all good. And I do believe there's another short trek coming in just a few days, so I'll probably be back soon to cover that one. Anyways, this one is called CUNY, and it's about Spock and number one being stuck in a turbolift. And I don't have much to say about it other than I thought it was fine. I thought it was interesting character building. I mean, it was a bit silly at times. It did have kind of that Discovery feel to it. But I think I like the characters, and I think the actors do a good job. Of course, I've seen some stuff online like saying, they're ruining Spock. And I'm like, just calm down, drama queen. I don't think this ruins Spock at all. I think it's fine. But it is. There's a few things I do find a bit silly about it. Like I find it a bit silly that she still refuses to say her name. She's like, "Call me number one." Where, what did people call her before she was the first officer? I don't know. It seems like she's really up herself on being the first officer. I mean, it kind of makes sense for Pike calling her number one because Picard used to call Riker number one, but everyone else called Riker. So I think they're taking this too far, because in the pilot episode of The Cage, the only thing we knew her by was number one, but Pike was the only one who referred to her. So they're like, oh, we don't have a name for her. She's just known to the fans as number one. So let's make it a joke where she likes to be called number one. She doesn't want anyone else to call her anything different, which is stupid. Although they do imply in the short trek that her name is Una. Now, the point of this short trek might be to put out feelers on whether or not they want to do a Pike and Spock and number one centric show, which a lot of fans want them to do, but of course a lot of the haters of anything new, because Alex Kurtzman is involved, so it must suck, even though he's like executive producer, not necessarily having any creative control over it, but his name on it therefore sucks, which I actually personally believe boils down to it's new, therefore it sucks, which is not a new concept. It's been around since Next Generation, since Discovery, since Voyager. The only difference is the internet wasn't as pervasive as it was. I bet your ass, you can goddamn guarantee that if it was, there'd be all these videos floating around the internet, just as many as there are now, talking about how Deep Space Nine is ruining Star Trek because they're stuck in the space station. You should watch the Deep Space Nine documentaries. They're very interesting. All the letters they got of people complaining about how shitty that show is, which is nowadays accepted as a Star Trek staple. So anyway, so long way of saying that the haters should just be ignored. I mean, that's not to say Discovery is perfect and these new treks will all be perfect. That's not to say I'm already prejudging Picard to be perfect. I don't know. I haven't seen it, which is nobody's seen it. So anyone who prejudges it is wrong because they haven't seen it yet. I mean, they could have inklings based off the trailers, but nobody's actually freaking seen it. So what I'm saying is I'm reserving judgment until I actually freaking seen it. And Discovery's not perfect by any means, but I think there is this proclivity to be like, oh, it's new, therefore it sucks. But anyway, so besides those people, leaving those people aside, a lot of people want a Pike show. In fact, even a lot of people did not like Discovery, which I'm not saying anyone who didn't like Discovery is a hater, because I think there's a lot of legitimate reasons not to like Discovery, because it has a lot of flaws. But there is even some people who didn't like Discovery liked Pike and thought he was the best part of Discovery. So a lot of people are wanting a Pike show. So I think this short trek was kind of a feeler, and I think there's going to be another short trek that has these characters from Star Trek. So I think it's kind of like putting out feelers on whether or not they want to do a Captain Pike show. Yeah. So that's an interesting concept. But anyway, this short trek itself was kind of boring. I mean, I personally don't like the concept of two people being stuck in an elevator. I think it's a cliche concept, and I think from Star Trek times, this 23rd century technology, it shouldn't really happen. And it's kind of just a cliche. And it was a bit too, like, the dialogue was a bit too on the nose at the start, where number one was like, oh, ask questions, just ask tons of questions until it gets annoying, because that's like foreshadowing it a bit too obviously that he's going to ask tons and tons of questions and annoy her. And they didn't really have him ask anything interesting. I mean, they had a couple of things. She described Pike and stuff, and I don't know. And there's a few references to the cage, to the way, because Spock behaved a bit differently in the cage because it was a pilot episode and they hadn't really established what Vulcans were like or what Spock was like. So he was yelling a lot, so they made a comment when he was, talking loudly. She's like, you don't need to yell, which I think was a pretty dumb reference in the cage. And also the fact that he smiled in the cage, so they brought that up, how he's smiling. And number one tells him not to smile because he has to bring up the air if he wants to be in command of being hiding his emotions like she does. Which, yeah, I don't know. Some of the nice little dialogue I thought was nice little character building moments, but there was nothing about this I found particularly interesting. They had a couple more like Easter eggs, such as she was singing this song, which is apparently from some musical I haven't really heard of. Is Gilbert and Sutherland? I'm pronouncing that wrong. Composers who are referenced in Star Trek a lot of times, but the song that she sings is the same song that Geordi LaForge sung in the episode Disaster, which I recognized straight away, where I am something minor major general, vegetable, mineral, whatever hell it goes. And I don't know, that was kind of funny, I guess, but it was a bit silly as well. What I didn't like about it was there seemed to be like they were hinting at a sexual connection between the two characters. Like they were constantly standing really close to each other and their faces were often really close. And I'm just like, the whole time that was happening, I was like, cut that out. And I was thinking that thankfully they didn't kiss, because a couple times I was worried that they would in fact kiss, which, I mean, we already ruined Spock with the Spock and a horror bullshit. Now we're going to do it with Spock and number one as well. So at least they didn't do that. But the fact that they were like, even had that tension there, I was just like, knock that off. That's dumb. So, I mean, and then it was nice, though, when Spock mentioned, like, oh, have you ever seen the Nebula thingy? And she was like, oh, yeah, I saw that. It was absolutely beautiful. And then they had Spock go on the bridge with Pike, and he actually saw it. And Pike asked, do Vulcans experience awe? And he's like, yes, we do, but we try not to, to show it. And she said he was hiding. He was actually so excited and experiencing awe and beauty, but he was hiding it, and it sort of goes nicely with the conversation they had. So I thought that was a nice way to end the trek. But overall, it wasn't really, I mean, I gotta be honest, I don't really care for short films in general, because I just think that format doesn't really allow the time to tell proper story, and so they just end up being vignettes, which I don't really have that much interest for vignettes in general. So, which is funny because I made a couple of short films myself. But anyway, it's so it was okay. So my rating for the Q&A out of 10, I think I'm gonna give this I'm stuck between a 5 and a 6. I think I'm going to give this a 5 average because I just think the whole concept of being stuck in the turbolift is a bit boring. And some of the dialogue between them was a bit silly, and the Easter eggs were a bit obvious. But it was still kind of a fun character building thing. I didn't consider it a complete waste of time watching it. So it's fine. So anyway, as I said, this was just going to be short. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got to say about the short trick Q&A. So I'll be back whenever the next short trick drops. Also, be sure to check out my channel as I cover many more Star Trek. At the moment, I'm doing Star Trek Enterprise, covering every season. I'm watching season 4 at the moment, getting ready for that. I just had my part 2 of season 3 drop, and then I'm doing random episode reviews now and then. And of course, I cover other shows like The Expanse, Lost, and Mr. Robot. So be sure to check out my channel for all that. And thanks a lot for watching.